the skills area has changed 18 different ways, 20 different times, as far as how it looks, where it's showing up, the value, how it's weighed in the algorithm. So there's a lot of that stuff that's constantly happening with LinkedIn. But the bottom line is that was started for job seekers and for people for career advancement. That has not changed.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Sue Gresham, the LinkedIn lady. So Sue, how are you doing today?
I'm just doing great. Thanks for asking, James.
Yeah. So LinkedIn lady, tell me a story. You got that name for a reason, I imagine.
I did. It's very interesting. Maybe we'll see. I guess you can decide. You can tell me if it's interesting.
We'll just go on to assume that it's interesting.
All right. So, a tiny bit of backstory is that I am located in Heartland, Wisconsin, which is just outside of Milwaukee, not too far from Sun Prairie. I think I'm almost like halfway between Milwaukee and Sun Prairie.
Yeah, definitely.
To be honest. And I have belonged for years to the Greater Brookfield Area Chamber of Commerce, and they hold tons and tons of meetings, including every other Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. We'd get together for breakfast. I know, at 7 o'clock.
Woo.
And for years, I would attend just about every week or every time. Okay. I'd miss a few here and there, but I was a pretty consistent attendee for many years. And you get up and you give your 30-second, 60-second spiel, the whole thing. So I have been doing LinkedIn forever, helping entrepreneurs with LinkedIn. What wound up happening is in the networking piece, people would come up to me and they'd say, "Oh, you're the LinkedIn lady," and then blah, blah, blah. Maybe they'd have a question or let's talk or whatever it was. I think it was about 6 months of hearing people say, "Oh, you're the LinkedIn lady." Then it occurred to me, I'm the LinkedIn lady. So it took me about another 6 months, maybe a year, to feel comfortable calling myself that. But I did. I am. And so that's kind of where that came from locally. Definitely in the Midwest, I'm the LinkedIn lady.
Oh, that's incredible.
And it's all from consistently showing up and just consistently being the same old me.
It's interesting you say that because I've gone through a lot of networking events, met a lot of people, and I've chatted with people for probably 5-10 minutes. And as you're leaving, right, you go on to the next person. I think I talked to that person for 10 minutes. They were doing the talking 90% of the time. And I still have no idea what they do.
Yes.
They're just jabbering. And it wasn't like I wasn't listening. I was actually trying, but I feel like they had this corporate nomenclature and using a lot of words like the best or something like that. Like, what do you do?
Right.
So when you have the LinkedIn lady, I can get a pretty good idea about what you do.
Generally speaking.
Broadly, right?
Right.
So for those that don't know, tell us, what is LinkedIn? Let's just start there.
Oh gosh. Okay. So what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a social platform. It's not really social media, but in a way it is. It's a platform that has over 1 billion users around the world. It's owned by Microsoft, and short version of the story is that it is a site for business professionals. Well, anybody that works is considered professional. So for anyone that is working or thinking of working or in school, it's a site for them to post, to engage, to build a network, to keep track of people, to connect with them. Have really what I promote with everyone is to use it to build, nurture, and maintain your professional relationships.
Nurture, and maintain. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that LinkedIn was owned by Microsoft. When did that happen?
Yeah, I'm going to say 7 years ago now. The years fly by so fast, I can't remember, but it's been at least 7 years.
I'll just jump out from under the rock I've been hiding under.
It's okay. It's no big deal. It's no big deal.
So interesting thing about LinkedIn from my point of view is there are some people that I feel like that are active on there. If you get in your death scroll or infinite scroll, whatever, that I feel like they are showing up every third post that I have. And then you have others that you looked at and they still have the job that you know that they don't have from 20 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, how often are people actually either posting or at least updating their profile of some kind?
Well, that's a great question because it's both. How's that? How's that for it depends. My favorite
First
answer.
time I've ever heard it.
I know. Um, seriously, everybody has a different reason, and there are people that created their accounts years ago because they were looking for a job and they never went back. And then there's others that are using it for very creative network development. Some of them are using it for spamming and selling their stuff. Some people use it for authority building, where that you'll see them posting about the thing that they know the most about. So there's a little bit of everything. I don't have the stats off the top of my head because, to be honest with you, I'm not a numbers person. But I'm going to say that of the billion people that are using it, maybe 25%, 20% or I'm sorry, of the billion that have accounts, maybe 25%, 20 are actually using it. And what I mean by that is going into it every once in a while. I'm a big proponent that we should go into it and use it if you want to be networking and growing your business. Of
All
course,
right.
that's what I say. But that being said, a lot of people are busy doing their work and they're not jumping into LinkedIn because they don't have time. Or there are some companies that have it blocked because they think it's a social site, just like you can't get into Facebook or Instagram from work. So there's a lot of there's pretty much every single reason why someone is using it or why they aren't.
So
So,
interesting. Tell me about the use of it. Because to me, it's a social site, but it's a professional social site. But every once in a while, when I'm scrolling, people throw political stuff up there. I don't see a ton of cat videos or anything like that. So it's not quite degraded to a lot of other social media sites. But I do feel like there's times that you run across people that are throwing either garbage up there or I tell you what, I was scrolling, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, something like that. And it got to the point that I noticed how many times am I going to see some huge quote in big letters that is pretty meaningless? I mean, maybe the quote's nice and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't add to you or really to them, the person that posted it or anything like that. Tell me about the posts that you see or that you would advise a client of yours to actually put up there.
well, so I don't see as many of those quote posts as I used to. That being said, I just put one up the other day. But
Oh no!
the
They're fine.
first
They're
one
good.
in forever. But here's what I did. Okay, is I put that quote post up, and I actually don't have it in front of me right now. But it was about gratitude, and the reason that I put it up there is because I was sharing that conversation I had with someone that was in job search the other day. The other day I had the conversation, and she was really bummed out, like super upset about her job search prospects and what was going on. And I was trying to uplift her a little bit. So I was suggesting that she maybe let's maybe talk about some things that maybe are going well for you, and just trying to get her past that mental thing. And lo and behold, the very next business day was this amazing quote about people that are grateful, they send abundance tends to come to them. So it was just so my post was the quote, but it was also the story about the job seeker and how and about trying to get past that mindset. Okay.
All right.
I my glass is more than half full. So that fits in with the things that I often post about is about the ways to get through things better. So the where I'm going with this is that posting, it really needs to be about what's important to you, for one thing, but it's also got to resonate with your readers and the
Mm-hmm.
people. And when I say readers, the people that are reading your posts are the people that generally you're connected to. So if you're connected to a lot of people that are in the car wash business, you're going to see a lot of posts about things that they think are important. And so that's kind of where it's speaking to your audience. And then what is it that you want them to do? Do you want them to get something positive out of it? Do you want them to learn? Do you want them to buy your stuff? So when you ask what should someone post, it's got to be relevant to what they are really trying to attract.
Fair. Tell
Yeah.
me, you raised an interesting point about sales or selling something, because in the end, I would think that the majority of us are on LinkedIn because deep down inside, we want to sell something, whether
Right.
that's ourselves to get a job or the product or service that we're in the market to sell.
Exactly.
We're all
Exactly.
trying to just fill our bank account, is what it comes down to. Otherwise, we wouldn't waste time doing it. But you can't be out there saying, hey, buy my stuff every single day in every single post. So
Right.
can you tell me how you recommend people navigate their tap dance around there by offering value, but also letting people know I'm not here just to hang out and have fun. I'm
Yeah.
here to make a couple bucks.
Well, and that's a great question because it can be a very fine line. Um, if you think about what we do, we're in business to make money, of course, and support our families and all that. But ideally, people will do business, and I think we've said this 1,000 times, with people that they know, like, and trust, right? Along that same spectrum, besides the know, like, and trust, there's also the whole concept of people aren't going to buy from you if they don't know who you are and if they've never heard of you. So, one of the things that I talk about when I'm working with my clients and in general, I think it's a great rule of thumb, is that you want to create awareness about yourself first, and that you are truly a person that I or that someone else would want to do business with. So you build that authentic brand and you build that authentic conversation first. And then at some point, and of course, you can always put there's always a link to your business name or something on your profile. At some point, then, after maybe 5 or 10 of those that are really not buy my stuff, but hey, this is me, get to know me. This is what's important to me. This is what's important to my clients. This is how I help my clients learn by doing somewhere around, there's two different thoughts on that, but I say at least 4 out of every 5 is not selling.
Okay.
Okay. 4 out of 5 is about sharing thought leadership and your authenticity, and just sharing information that you know that your people want. There's a whole market for educational selling.
Mm-hmm.
And so LinkedIn is a perfect forum for doing that. So I would say the happy dance would be no more than 1 out of 4, 20% of the time,
Okay.
which means if you only post once a week,
Once
then
a
that
month,
means only
you
once a
get to
month
ask them.
or once a month you're doing but if you're also only posting once a week, then that means your stuff is not getting seen as much as you might like if you're posting a couple of times a week.
So, what
So
is the ideal number of posts that you should go? Let's just use week, right? How many times is it recommended for people to post if they really want their stuff seen?
generally speaking, 3 to 5.
3 to 5 times a week.
Mhm.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a healthy amount.
it is a healthy amount.
I think so,
Well,
because yeah,
think
I
about
don't know. I guess there's a lot of people that I see that post a lot,
right.
and some of it's kind of redundant and stuff like that. Some people I think do a very good job.
Well,
I would
and yeah.
dare say the great majority don't. But
Well, and think about this. Were you ever on Twitter?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't call myself active, but yeah.
But back in the day when Twitter first started, and which would have been what, 20 in the mid 2000s, whatever that was. Okay.
Yeah.
The idea behind Twitter and maybe even now with X, I mean, I'm not on it anymore, but the idea was you were supposed to post 10 times a day in
10
order to get
times a
seen.
day.
Yes.
Wow.
So when we back it down and we say once a business day or maybe once every couple of business days, it's really not that big of a deal
Sure.
in the scheme of things. Now,
Yeah.
coming up with content 5 times a week can be, or 3 times a week. My happy spot right now is 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
And this is what I do for a living.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So,
consider you the guru as far as that goes. So we'll trust
well,
that
so
number.
because it's what so I'm not out there thinking a lot of posting. It's really, and this is where the build, nurture, maintain relationships comes in. It's really what you do behind the scenes.
Hmm.
It's the connections, it's the networking, it's the inside the mailbox and outside of LinkedIn where you are sharing your network. I mean, that's how we met. A mutual connection introduced us, right?
Yeah.
That's really where the meat and the potatoes and the best part of LinkedIn is. It's behind that home screen.
Got it.
And that's easy to do.
Say that one more time.
Behind the home screen,
Yeah.
when you're in the messaging, when you're in the connecting process, that's where it's easy to do a couple of times a day or a couple of times a week, is by sending those messages to the people that are in your network.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Okay.
So that is an excellent segue because I want to talk about the network.
Okay.
So I have heard two schools of thought. One is I believe that on the face is what LinkedIn says you're supposed to do, which is only connect with people that you actually know. And then I have heard other schools of thought that are just like if they accept the connection, take the connection, connect with everybody in the freaking universe, because then you're connected to them. Tell me where your point of view is.
My point of view is it's somewhere in the middle. How's that? Again, another it
Yeah,
depends.
right. It depends.
Because everybody has a different reason, right? First of all, can you really develop a relationship with every single person if you say yes to every single person?
Probably
No,
not. I
no.
suppose just like you couldn't have you said no, right?
Right. Well, but if you think about it, no, you can't. You might have one conversation. Hey, thanks. I'm glad we're connected. But in the scheme of things, you can't really use that for networking purposes like you do when you've had multiple conversations. Um, and because not everybody, you don't want to have everybody in your network, you know, not everyone is deserving enough to be in your very cherished network. So
Fair.
to put some brakes on it and to put some sort of parameters on what you want is not a bad idea.
All
It's not
right.
a bad idea. Um, the other piece to that puzzle also goes along with the fact that when you're connecting with everybody, that's when you're seeing a lot of junk on your feed because LinkedIn makes the assumption that if you're connected to someone, that means you're, in fact, not even assumption, you automatically follow them.
Okay.
And so that means you see their stuff in the feed. So if you're connecting just for the sake of connecting, your feed, the stuff that you're reading, it's maybe not of value to you.
All right.
So
Tell me about the scrolling. I don't know if there's any statistics that you know or anything like that.
yeah,
Scrolling of Instagram versus TikTok versus Facebook versus LinkedIn. To me, I don't know that I know that I don't necessarily scroll LinkedIn like I do guilty pleasure at the other stuff.
right.
So I don't, do you know, is that universal? Is that typical? Or are there some people that are just like LinkedIn is it? And I'm going to find the end of the internet on this particular website somewhere.
So there are people that think LinkedIn is it, and there are people that don't use LinkedIn at all. Um, because LinkedIn has a different purpose than Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or the rest of them, typically speaking, the information that's on the scroll the scroll is totally different. You know, you're not going to see a lot of cat pictures like you said before, right? Like you might on Facebook or what Instagram or whatever those others are. The scroll purpose on LinkedIn, though, is really that it's a higher caliber and what from a professional standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said, people make tons of money with their Instagram. If you look at Facebook, and I'm not, what sites are you on, James? Which ones are you using?
I would say mostly Facebook, but
Yeah.
I'm older and I remember when Instagram came out, I told myself no, because as soon as I go down that road, I'm going to waste even more time.
Yeah.
And same thing with TikTok, same thing. Like there's social media sites that I hear people mention that I'm like, I don't even want to ask what that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to
No.
know.
So my two are Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not really on Instagram in part because my account got hacked and I never could get it back.
Oh
And I thought,
no.
forget it, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Um, but my purpose for Facebook is totally different than my purpose for LinkedIn.
Agreed.
And so my scrolling time in the evening or at 2 o'clock in the morning when I wake up is more geared towards my Facebook because to me, it's just like, oh, what's going on here, And that's where you read about the good things in people's lives and some of the bad things. But I also belong to a lot of Facebook groups that I use for learning purposes. LinkedIn doesn't have a good group feature at this moment. So I think to answer your question, I think that because they're two totally different birds, I think that everybody's using them and treating them as two totally different birds. I don't see a lot of the same posts that are happening on LinkedIn that happen on Facebook.
I was just going to ask you that if one, it's recommended that you post, that you have this post, right? You spend some time on it, created it, got your little image or whatever. Do you throw that up on all the social media sites, or do you gear it towards each one? Do you change the nomenclature in each one? What is your recommendation there?
There are people that do both. And again, if your purpose for using Facebook is to totally sell your stuff, and there are people that do that, then for them to do LinkedIn and Facebook and have the same thing. But if you're talking about, what's happening with your family vacation, you're not going to be doing the same post.
Mm-hmm.
I do say that people are on LinkedIn, they don't want to be sold to, but they want to learn.
Okay.
And they want to network. On Facebook, people are on Facebook because they want to hear what's going on, let's say more coffee gossip stuff, and they want to be sold to. They're looking for the deals. That's why there's all those sponsors. They're looking, Facebook Marketplace, it's a big deal. People are buying products. There's a lot of products, more consumer to consumer, business to consumer than business to business. That's my take on it. Now, there could be somebody that's listening that's a Facebook guru, and they could be listening to this and they go, oh, she's all wrong. But that's my somewhat uninformed, mostly informed comment.
All right. Fair.
So,
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Tell me, so you've been thinking around with the whole LinkedIn thing for a long time. What are some of the changes that you've seen, good or bad, over the course of time?
Oh my gosh. So I started on LinkedIn way back, probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that.
All right. It's been a while.
LinkedIn likes to change a lot. They like to change the way that they look. They like to change the way, they like to change what they're about. Like, for instance, they might be bringing some little short videos, like TikTok type videos. There's a beta test going on with that. So that's a change if that's what they're going to do. One of the things that they have is that they brought on a few years ago, but it's really picking up steam, is LinkedIn audio events, where you almost like a podcast, but you're doing it on LinkedIn. So you would do, you do your podcast thing on Restream or whatever site you're using. And then it could play, and it would be showing on your LinkedIn feed also. And it would just be audio, not necessarily the podcast video. Video events, those are relatively new. Skills are this section on LinkedIn where you type in you put in what your skills are. Professional skills, because keep in mind, this is about, people looking for people for business. The skills area has changed 18 different ways, 20 different times, as far as how it looks, where it's showing up, the value, how it's weighed in the algorithm. So there's a lot of that stuff that's constantly happening with LinkedIn. But the bottom line is that LinkedIn was started for job seekers and for people for career advancement. That has not changed. LinkedIn is still career focused. That is where they get their biggest amount of cash from, is from recruiters that pay to be able to look at people's profiles and be able to find their candidates. So that part of LinkedIn has not changed over the years.
Got it. It's a perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you about, that's LinkedIn Premium, is that right?
There's a bunch of them, yes.
Oh, there's different tiers?
There's
or
like
how does that
4
work?
or 5 different tiers of premium throughout LinkedIn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know much about them?
I know enough to be dangerous.
All right,
Um,
well, let's go down this road here a little bit.
okay. So first of all, if you're a recruiter and if you work for a recruiting firm or if you are insourcing for your company, the recruiter packages allow you to really see stuff behind the algorithm, to do sorting, to send all sorts of messages and things to people. There's a couple different levels of packages for that recruiters pay for. So if a recruiter was looking at your profile, for instance, you may not know that because they're paying so that you don't know that. Those
Oh,
packages could be as much as 1,000 or more a month.
oh wow. Okay.
Okay. Or as I think the least expensive is like $350 a month. Don't quote me on that. I haven't looked at the prices lately, but those are for people that are actively recruiting. There's a couple of business premiums. One of them is called Sales Navigator, and that is this big behemoth, that's my word, of a CRM and it costs a lot of money. I think that's maybe $120 a month or something. That gives you all sorts of bells and whistles. It has its own separate interface. It allows you to search and send messages to your ideal clients. It is literally meant for salespeople to use LinkedIn as a sales um, database.
Okay. So
Then
they're
there's
finding people as well as sending them emails with their
exactly.
information.
Sending them emails, sometimes spamming them. Sometimes I get those spam, where there's like, but it allows salespeople to really target their audience. There's a less expensive premium for business people. That's the one that I have. It's about $50, $60 a month. And that allows you to do a lot of behind the scene things, allows you a lot better searches and things like that. And then there's a least expensive job seeker premium that's about $30 a month. And that gives people in career transition that are looking for jobs the back door and a lot of analytics to help with their job search for company searches and finding people and applying for jobs and so on. So
Got it.
the spectrum, it's a big spectrum.
Yeah, sounds wide, I guess, depending
Yeah.
upon what your end goal
What,
is.
well, and that's the whole point. And so as you hear, I mean, there's some people that are the goals for people using LinkedIn are varied. And so people fit in different buckets, and that's what that's about.
Sure, fair. Tell me about bots or artificial I want to say identities or however you want to call them, because I swear that I've been reached out to by people like, hey, you want to connect? And I think there's no way that you're real. So
Yeah.
have you run into that?
Oh, a lot. A
Okay.
lot. There is a sheik of some Indian country that keeps inviting me to connect. And
Well, that's nice of him.
oh, I know, I'm excited about it. Um, he's very definitely someone that is a bot. LinkedIn has very specific terms of service that we've all agreed to that don't allow us to scrape information or to create fake personalities or to even, there's a lot of things that they don't want us doing. Unfortunately, bots are really smart and AI is really, it's a wonderful world. Um, and they're just literally staying right in step with everything that Microsoft can do and LinkedIn can do to keep them off. So yes, there are bots. But there's also mechanisms for getting rid of bots. And thank goodness that works because you can report a bot when you get that invitation to connect and you can block that bot. And just like that sheik, I told you he keeps inviting me to connect. That's because he keeps creating new profiles every couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
So, it's not him, obviously,
Right,
right?
right. The sheik's just not there sitting on the camel doing whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Somebody somewhere is playing chic, but it's the same thing every time. And so we a lot. He's out there. He's out there trying to connect with a lot of women and maybe men. I'm not sure. And we all just kind of talk about it behind the scenes, and we all block him and report him, and he goes away, and then he comes back, and
Tell me, what is the goal for them or who's ever creating this profile over and over and over?
I have a feeling it's to scrape it to get identities of people. I do believe that. I also believe that They are looking to, I'm not sure exactly in that particular instance, but I know that sometimes there are people that are out there to try and get you to invest in their companies, or like for job seekers, one of the common things is that there'll be somebody that'll have a work from home scheme. And so they get you to invest and they get you to spend the money to be able to get, it's the age old, get addresses and work from home, pay me $25 or $50 a month, and I'll give you unlimited this, and you can do this for me. So I think there's a lot of that.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, because I have employees that work from home, and I've been in interviews where I told them that I supply the equipment, computers and stuff like that. And they're like, I remember somebody asked me, how much do we have to pay you for the equipment? And I thought, what? No, I send it to you. Now, granted, this is coming, I have given away many computers, not intentionally. People just take the job. Thanks for the computer. Go away. They don't even give me the thanks. So I was like, wait, there's people out there that are convincing you to pay for equipment to work for them? That
Yeah,
is crazy. And I thought, well, they must be a better salesperson than I am, because I've been giving all this stuff away.
you're just too nice. You're just too
Could
nice.
be, could be. I just want a good employee to do their job. And I figured, hey, you need this equipment to do the job. So let's
Well,
make this happen. But yeah, could be.
that's what
Midwest
most
nice, right?
that's the way most normal people would think. But there's always those people that are out there for that underhanded, shady stuff. But no, that's absolutely true. That is exactly what happens.
Interesting. Yeah, I've gotten emails where they're like, is this a real job? Or is this a real business?
Right, right.
And I'm like, you can look at our website, you can go on Google Streets and see our building. You can go like the entire, it would be a lot to set that up for me to try to sell you a computer. It's interesting.
I do believe though that there's enough of those scamsters out there
There
that
must
are
be.
setting up the fake Google accounts, although I don't understand Google enough to understand how that works. But they maybe they're doing that, or they're setting up definitely setting up fake businesses.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I looked
um,
at, I'm like, the cost of what it would do, what it would cost, what we have paid Indeed to place ads out there. I'm like, these guys must be selling a lot of computers to people to pay for that. Nut, but
right,
interesting.
but
Can't they just make money, honestly? Is it really that hard? I don't think it's that hard.
it isn't if you're legit. I well, okay, it can still be hard if you're legit,
I
but
suppose it could be hard either way. It just seems like
right.
you want to be able to hug your mom at night and not have to be like lying when she asks what you do, I guess.
It's a unique concept.
Yeah, maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me a story how you got involved in being a LinkedIn lady versus just making your money some other way.
Well, it doesn't start out real happy, but it ends real happy. Back in 2008, we had this little thing called a super recession.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
I don't know what they called it back then, but like the economy was horrible, right? The stock market dropped. Well, back then I don't even know what the percentage was, but I remember watching it drop like by like 800 points in one day. Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot. Everyone was running around wondering what's going on.
And there was massive unemployment.
Hmm.
Unemployment rates were 12, 13, 14%, whatever they were. Well,
Hmm.
I happen to be a victim of one, and victim is the wrong word because I don't like the victim mentality, but I happen to be one of those many millions of people that lost my position working for a company back in 2008. And finding a job in 2008, that's when I started using LinkedIn. Finding a job was very hard.
Mm.
And I knew that I was not going to get back doing what I was doing because I was in the manufacturing industry doing what I was doing. And in Milwaukee, manufacturing places were closing up all over the place. It was just a big mess. So at that point, I thought, okay, well, I need to do something else. So I went to a job camp. That's what we called it. I became actively involved in the organization of actually running the job camp because of that. But I went to a job camp and I was watching this woman do a presentation about LinkedIn. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And back then, LinkedIn was about relationships. It was about networking. It was about using your network to find a job. I'm like, wow. when I lost my job, I lost everything. They took away the computer, the phone. I literally did not remember the names of the people that were my clients. I mean, I knew their names, but I didn't have their phone numbers because they were in the computer, right?
Mm.
So I literally was like a woman without an island. And I had never thought that it never even occurred to me. So I went to this woman that watched this presentation, and this woman was amazing. And I'm like, wow, okay. And then I went to another presentation, and somebody said, well, what is it that you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So a couple of months of thinking about it, I thought, well, why don't I just figure out how to teach people how to use LinkedIn? Backstory, I used to be a teacher.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I even went back and did substitute teaching in that time frame because that was a fallback. So that's how I got started in it. But I didn't get started with LinkedIn. I actually got started teaching people how to use Facebook and other social medias. I got certified in social media, Facebook, Twitter, helping them set up their business accounts and helping them figure out how to use it. I got really tired of Facebook and Twitter. I'll be honest with you.
Can't say I blame you.
Um,
It's all good.
and people didn't want to pay for it. People didn't want to pay me for it because Facebook and Twitter were kind of free, So why pay
Oh, sure.
somebody, right? So I did that for a number of years, and but I always loved LinkedIn, and I love the relationship and the networking piece of LinkedIn and the relationship building and how you can use it for good and not evil. And so I just switched over to LinkedIn.
Right on. More
Yeah.
professional. It's all good. So, how did you go through and learn all the stuff that you were then going to be able to transfer that knowledge and help teach your clients?
You know what? Online classes started it. And then some local classes, like at Marquette, they had a social media class, and no, it wasn't at Marquette, it was at UWM Continuing Education. They had it, and so I just started learning and I started doing. And then, of course, there's so many brilliant people out there to learn from,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and so I learned that part of it, but then I get to learn how to run a business.
Details, right? Details.
Who thought? So that was a whole nother adventure and a whole nother journey, because I knew I could do the social media piece, but how do I run a business and how do I grow a business? And so again, more coaches and training and learning, and it's an ever being a teacher, being learning. That's what I do, and that's one of my top 5 strength finders is learner. So um, that's just kind of the whole story right there in a nutshell.
Nice.
Continuous learning.
So 2008, 2009, I imagine when you get your business rolling, you evolve into the LinkedIn thing. How did you find clients?
Completely networking.
In person
Completely.
or remote?
In person and through like introductions to people. But my first year of clients, no, I'm going to say my first 4 or 5 years were all people that I knew, that I had met, that I
Okay.
had been introduced to. It was all referral for the first, completely 100% referral. And it was, remember, I told you the story about going to the chamber. Well, I joined chambers early. I joined other networking groups early to get myself physically out there, to be networking, to meet people. And and to be honest with you, that's mostly how my business grows now. There's not a lot of people that are randomly searching for me on the internet. It's almost all still referral. I'm going to say probably 85% of my
Wow.
business comes from referral.
All right. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Tell me, you had coworkers, I imagine, at the place that you worked at before. Do you see them every once in a while, or they just fell off the planet and you don't know where they're at?
They fell off the planet. And part of that is I let them fall off the planet. That's a big part of it. Every once in a while, there's a random person that'll pop up into my world, but that was an industry, a manufacturing industry. Um, I have looked. The company that I used to work for, very few people are on LinkedIn, if at all. And I just kind of severed myself from that.
All right.
And that was my choice. That was my choice as much as anything. I could have gone back and, made some more attempts, but I kind of like the world I'm in now a little bit better.
No, when you say made some attempts to just connect or to actually try to get a job back.
Oh no, not to get a job back.
Okay, thank you.
To get a job back in that industry. No, 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 no. But as an example, we're in March. We're in April. Back in December, which was 4 months ago. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
I actually um reconnected and had coffee with with probably one of my top favorite coworkers of all time
Oh,
at that
nice.
company. And
All
we
right.
hadn't seen each other for, well, since 2000, was she left even before 2008. So
Wow.
we hadn't seen each other for maybe 20 years, 18
Okay.
years.
That's
And
wow.
so we had the most marvelous time reconnecting and seeing each other. And it was though we had literally not missed a beat, other than the fact that, she's since got kids and they're grown up and I'm a grandma now. And, all, those beats we missed. But as far as our relationship and our conversation, it was just like we had been 18 years ago.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. So did you know, I guess 2008, let's just say before you get laid off or the ball
Right.
drops around us all over the world, did you have any intention of starting your own business? No.
No, no. And as a matter of fact, well, I shouldn't say no so emphatically. Entrepreneurship has been in my family forever. My father owned his own business and I worked for him for years. My stepmother owned her own business. I never worked for her, but she had her own business. My husband and I, in our early years together, my father-in-law bought a business and we owned it with him. So we have, and when I was first married, our goal was that I was going to open a chain of daycares because that was what my degree was early childhood education. So should I say no, that I never dreamed about being an entrepreneur? When I look back on it, there's all these stepping stones. It makes perfect sense. But in 2008, no, that was
Oh,
not my dream at all.
all right. So
But
2008, when you get the letter or the conversation, whatever happens when
the
you get
conversation,
conversation, when was it just you or was it to the whole group of?
that particular day, it was just me and the HR department and my boss, but along the way, there had been others and I was in an upper management position, so there had been others along the way.
Okay. So when they had that conversation, you're walking out to the parking lot and you're like, well, this isn't great. What were some thoughts that were going through your head as far as next steps to move on with your life to make sure you can
My next step, seriously, was I need a beer.
Welcome to Wisconsin, right? I love it.
That was seriously my next thought. And my next thought was, what the heck am I going to do for the rest of my life? And it was very much, it was totally devastating. And if truth be told, I went through some, I don't think there's a term for it. I got depressed,
Okay.
but it was called situational depression.
Okay.
Well,
Put
that's
a
what they
big
called
word in
it.
front of this other big word. Yeah.
That's what they call it. But literally, like my whole being and everything that I loved that job, and I loved some of the people I worked with. I didn't love every piece of the job, but I loved what I did. All of that. And so I literally, it was like my right arm was chopped off. I had no idea for the longest time who I was, what I was going to do. So it was a rough time. It was a very rough time for our family. Financially, I got some severance pay, which helped, but still,
Mm-hmm.
there was the whole, oh my God, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I was still young, um, you know, or young enough that my career was not going to be over. So
Right.
it was pretty traumatic for a while. And but I did find some people. I found a support, and this is again where how I have really developed my passion for networking and for really for really keeping in touch with people and all of that is because while I was unemployed, I went to WCTC, Waukesha County Technical. It was technical college. Now I'm not sure what it was called back then, but anyway, Workforce Development had a site there, and they told me about a networking group for people that were in job search. Like, well, I don't know how to look for a job. I should probably go. So I did, and I wound up finding some amazing people that are still some of my best friends through
Wow.
that. And I got on the board of the organization, and I was working. I helped job seekers get through job search. I got mentioned earlier, I got through this job camp. So it was through the networking piece that kept me going, that got me thinking, okay, there's some value I could go ahead and, so it was a lot of incremental steps along the way that started with networking, and it started with talking to people and realizing that I wasn't going to do it myself. I'd have to learn, I'd have to do some things.
Very cool.
So yeah, so, it's like hopscotching back and forth, but ultimately it's really about the people you surround yourself with.
Oh my gosh. 1000%. Absolutely.
And so, but I didn't realize that at the time when I was working for a company either, I think
You
you
know,
realize that, and I also think you realize it as you get older. And there's a lot of those things I think you start to get a handle on.
fair. Totally fair. It's interesting how I think back when I was working the W-2 job versus now when I'm on my own. Been on my own for what I would consider to be quite a while. And it's interesting the things that you are aware of and the things that you look forward to, the things that you try to feed your brain with and all that kind of stuff. Versus when I was a W-2 employee, I had either no awareness of or no interest in, I'm going to call it individual growth. It was just
Oh,
punch in, do your job, move on with your life, punch out. And that was it. And it was interesting that when I started my business, you learn like, well, I got to grow, 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 grow. And oh, there's this. And you're just in that. You're hungry for all this knowledge and stuff
yes.
that goes beyond business, it goes to the individual. And now I feel like, well, I'm kind of a snob now because when I talk to people that are W-2 people, I'm like, what did you do today? And they're like, oh, I watched a football game. I think, oh, you didn't go expand your
Yeah.
brain of any kind or build your business or chat with other people that are interested in building their brain or their business,
Yeah.
something like that. It's interesting how I was one of the rats on the wheel.
And I was too. And I was too. And like the whole concept of networking. No, I never, yeah,
Yeah, no.
I network with my coworkers after work, but that was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, no, absolutely. And the other thing too, that one thing that I've found, which is one of the reasons I love what I do, every single person I've met has an amazing, and I totally believe this, amazing story. They have some piece of knowledge, some history that they don't realize how important it is to them and how important it can be to other people. And I don't mean just from a networking standpoint. I'm just talking about the value of people. I had no idea how smart people were until I started really talking to them. And when I say smart, I mean not just business smart, but I mean emotionally smart. I mean interesting. The side things, the extra things that they do, it's to me, it's amazing. And everybody's career, well, used to be a W-2, as you call it, right? Everybody's career leads them along a path to get them to some point. And we don't know what that point is. But once we start to pay attention to what that path was, sometimes it becomes really obvious. And you can say, oh, yeah, like, when I just came back a few minutes ago and I said, well, I was a teacher. And you're like, really? Yeah, I have always been a teacher. And I went back and I started looking at when I was like, not just my degree, but when I was volunteering, when I was a stay-at-home mom, part-time stay-at-home mom, part-time worker, and my daughter was in brownies. Okay. I was I was the brownie leader for one thing, so there's teacher right there. But then I was also the brownie leader trainer for the Girl Scout area. So I taught other brownie leaders and daisy leaders how to be leaders. I don't I don't know where that came from, but it did. And even in my other careers, I was always doing training programs. I was always so what I do now is just it's really just an extension of what I've always been doing. It's just a different pocket. So, and we all have that, and I would imagine if we went back and delved back into what you used to do, we'd probably find the same thing.
I imagine so. Yeah. It's interesting when I interview guests that, I mean, most are new to me, but others that I've known for years. And I'll be 10 minutes into the conversation learning that they had a kid, got divorced, started a business in this little 6 month chunk of their life. And I'm like, I've known you for 10 years. I didn't know you went through any of that.
Right, right.
So it's interesting, just the conversations that you have with people. Very true. Everyone has a story.
Well, and I bet for you, I mean, you're talking to people every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how fun is that?
Oh my gosh, it's a blast. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
I think I want your job.
Yeah.
I might actually consider something like
Pays
that.
pretty weak, I gotta say it in this realm, but it's
Yeah,
fun. Holy cow, is it fun? You learn an incredible amount. Yeah.
yeah.
So totally cool. You can totally start a LinkedIn podcast,
I could.
interview people that have LinkedIn profiles or something.
It's funny that you said that because I have kind of thought about something in the back of my mind. So if it happens, I'll come back and I'll let you know.
Oh, you just gotta do it. What's the risk? Plus, you have more posts to throw up there then, right?
That's right. That's right.
Tell me, when
I could
you are
totally
working
do
with
that.
people,
Mhm.
what are you working with people that are looking for jobs or people that are looking to sell or people that are just like, what is LinkedIn? Like, who are you
So
working with typically?
my ideal people that I work with are people that are entrepreneurs, typically on the smaller end of the spectrum, micro business owners up to maybe 10, 20 employees, helping them establish their own brand credibility. So it's some profile work, but it's really helping them, giving them the tools and guiding them through the process of using how to use LinkedIn so that they can elevate their business and they can elevate their careers, convert, possibly find new prospects, clients. Some of them are looking for, some of them, I'm working with somebody right now that is building his business and he wants to be able to hire employees. So he wants to be able to establish himself better on LinkedIn so that then employees will want to come to work for him.
Fair. Totally fair.
So it's kind of, there's a little bit of both. I also have another client right now who's a job seeker,
Okay.
and she's a marketing person and she's looking for a position. Recently laid off the company she was a startup company, wound up, I don't think they're out of business, but they cut back drastically, and startup company.
Mhm.
And so she's looking for a job. So I'm helping her put together her presence so that she can land that marketing job that she's looking for. So it's
Nice.
a little bit of both.
All right. And are
Yeah.
you doing stuff for your clients or are you teaching them how to do stuff?
Oh no, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
Everything that we do is done with you, not done for you. Because the tools that we work with and the things that I teach, for instance, when that woman finds a job, I don't want her coming back to me to say, how do I fix my profile? Right? Because she's in a different spot. Her branding is different. She's not a job seeker anymore. She's an employed marketing professional. So I'm giving her the tools so that she can do it herself.
Nice. I
So
love
it's
it.
done with you.
Sue, how can people find you?
Um, I'm on LinkedIn.
I was gonna say, I suppose it's pretty obvious, but just in case.
In case they didn't know, you can find me by doing a search for Sue Gresham on LinkedIn, and you'll see me. I should be like the first one that pops up in theory. Also, my website is sue-gresham.com. So it's
Sue dash Gresham.
sue-gresham.com. Yeah,
All
because
right.
somebody else, Sue Gresham, took the suegresham.com. So
Well, we gotta talk to that woman. Jeez.
I've been trying to buy it for years. Now it's not worth it. I'm too set with where I am. But so
Yeah, I
that's
get
how
it.
they can find me. Or they can reach out to you because you know where I am.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then you can have a conversation with them.
And the
Get
snowball
to
gets bigger. I
know
love it.
them and network. And so yeah.
Yeah. Away we go. Sue, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun and it was great to talk with you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little more personally, to know more about your backstory.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to share it if you got if you got some time that you
Oh,
want to.
we'll connect offline or off this and definitely do that.
Sure. All good.
Great.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you are listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those that may need or have a LinkedIn profile and just need some help, some guidance that Sue can help them with. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book of the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Sue Gresham, the LinkedIn lady. Sue, can you tell us that website one more time?
Sue-Gresham.com.
It doesn't get easier than that. Sue-Gresham.com. Awesome. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.